Brilliant. So let's start and get going. I think a couple more people are joining, but I'm let me just go on to the next slide. So I'll start with a quote from our CEO and founder, Alex Bailey. Our human strengths are what make each one of us on the planet entirely unique. Now, we're obviously looking at strengths today, but the word I really want you to focus on, other than strength, is unique. You are a unique human being, and your strengths are unique. And we're going to keep coming back to that as we go along. So the purpose of today is really about helping you uncover your unique strengths. So we're already talking about unique and what exactly we mean by strengths. And personally, what I want you to get out of this 30-minute session is you would have discovered one strength that you can use within a professional setting for an upcoming challenge or task, or something maybe you've got coming up that you're not looking forward to, something that you can leverage to make sure you do it well. Right, so what are strengths? We're going to be looking at this in a couple of different ways, but it's probably important to note at this stage, our strengths are developed in the first 17 odd years of our life. They're the well-used neural pathways that our brain uses as shortcuts to navigate the world that we live in. Our strengths are those things that have developed through the challenges, through the experience in the first 17 odd years of our life, and they're completely unique to us. See, we're already talking about being unique. I really want you to think of strengths as being unique as say your DNA or your fingerprint is unique to you. I'm not implying for 1 second that you'll be able to work out who the burglar is on Crime Watch by looking at their strengths and how they approach the burglary. But keep it in mind that this is unique to you as your DNA and your fingerprints. There's no one else out there like you. Right. So you may be joining us for lots of different reasons. Maybe seeking new ways to be your best at work. Maybe you already work in a strength-based organization, but you don't really know what that means and you dread the question. So tell me about your strengths, particularly if maybe you're going up for an interview and you've come from our recruitment side of the business and they're asking you about your strengths. Maybe you're going for a promotion or you're going for that new role and you want to work out how to leverage your strengths in order to be able to get the role or the new position. Maybe you're just looking to be a bit happier at work. But whatever your reason for joining me here today, there is a world of research about how strengths are going to benefit you and make you perform better in your role. Or if you're a leader, help the people within your organization thrive and be more productive. So if you utilize your strengths for just 10 hours per week, what are you going to feel? Well, you're going to be less worried, less stressed, less angry, less sad, feeling less pain. But what are you going to be more of? Well, you're going to be more engaged, more productive, less likely to quit, and 3 times more likely to have an excellent quality of life. And that's just 10 hours of using your strengths per week, both in a professional and a personal setting. There's no difference between your strengths, and you can use them in the most across both of those. So we're not asking for a big investment with your time here. You're going to spend about half an hour with me today, maybe 10 hours per week, doing something that's within your strengths, and you're going to benefit from all of those points. You've already done all the hard work in the first 17 odd years of your life, working out and designing your brain and getting to that stage where you have developed all these strengths. Let's just discover them and start using them. Right. Let's not think about work as we go on to the first activity. So this is where on the chat function, you can share with me, pen and paper, write it down, or if you're using an app, type it, whatever is best for you. And remember, really form the answer in your mind if you don't want to share or you don't want to write it down. But forgetting work, if you had a day to do anything you wanted to, what would you do? That's, if you had a day to do anything you wanted to, what would you do? So you've got a bonus day. Money doesn't matter, time doesn't matter, travel doesn't matter. What would you be doing? I can share an example for you. So if I had a bonus day, I'd be on the beach somewhere in the Mediterranean, good 30-degree heat, building sandcastles with my son, building things that are completely over elaborate just for him to destroy. but completely as well loving life. But what would you do? Time by myself in the south of France. Nice. Drinks on tap. Being creative with my family. Lying on a beach, reading a book. I don't know if I've started off the theme here, but a lot of us are talking about holiday. Maybe because the sun's been trying to poke out in the UK here, and people are starting to think about getting away for a summer break. What else would you do? And if you've already shared one with me, taking time with your family, lovely, thank you. Think of another one, maybe even a third. It's 2 or 3 things that you would do if you had a bonus day. Exploring a new place, or talking through problems with my friend. It's really great. Reunion with family. So we're seeing a lot of people wanting to do things with people. Not everyone mentions that when we ask this question. A lot of people wanting to mentioning family and mentioning friends. Maybe a lot of people out there with relationship strengths, but we'll come back to that. It's not unusual when we run one of these, people from our learning teams, people who work in people or learning. Oh, there we go, the opposite. Day on my own with no one else to think about. Yes, I'm quite up for that sometimes, definitely. So hopefully you've shared 2 or 3, maybe even just 1 with me there. We've had a really good think about your bonus day. So mine was being on the beach, building sandcastles, or maybe doing a Tough Mudder and trying to work out with the team that we have here at Bailey French the best way of getting through an obstacle. That's one I really like. And why are we asking you to do this? Well, we really want you to start spotting themes within those, things that you can notice. One I pointed out, for instance, lots of people talking about family or friends or seeing people. That's a bit of a theme. But building sandcastles on the beach isn't a strength. Being on your own with no one else to think about, or playing a sport, or going down the pub with friends, unfortunately, is not a strength. But these activities, our favorite activities, are linked to our strengths. The things we get excited by and have potential to excel at. But it's important that we now scratch below the surface and go 1 level deeper. These activities might be very similar to our strengths, and we're all going to have different reasons for doing it. We have to go that 1 step further to look at the reasons behind the activities, which will then come to our strengths. So these are things that you enjoy doing, maybe they motivate you, things that make you thrive, that make you excel. An example that I can do, it hasn't actually come up today, but it's one of the best examples that I've come across, is baking or cooking. That's an activity, whether it's however you describe it, or whatever you're baking or cooking. And that's the activity. So what's the strength? So let's look at 1 level deeper. Could be different things. We're all unique human beings. Maybe, like a lot of people who have been talking to me today, you like to cook for other people. You like to bake for other people. It's a relationship building strength. You make them feel good with good cooking. Maybe you're really analytical. That's your strength, because you follow a recipe to the word, or you know what bits you can swap out because you are so zoned in on that, and you like the instructions, you like going through them and getting something at the end. Or potentially you've got a creative strength, so you go full MasterChef or Bake Off when you're designing something, and you make sure it looks perfect, and you put loads of time into the decoration as well as the taste, because you really like to express that creative strength, that you like doing that. So out of those 2 or 3, maybe 1 activities that you've just shared, think about it 1 step lower. What's the motivators behind it? What's that part of that you really feel that makes you happy, something that you're good at, something that you get into that state of flow where time flies by because you're so into it. And now it's not vital, but it can be really useful to try and describe that as 1 word. So if you can now pop into the chat or write it down on your piece of paper or on your computer, or really think about it, what 1 word could you use to describe something that's coming up in those activities that you've shared? What do you think it really could be? And as you have a really good think about that, let's have a quick recap. So as we've explored, our strengths are created through those millions of personal and unique experiences over the first 17 years of our life. And then so we've looked at activities to try and discover what our strengths could be. So those things that motivate us, that we excel at, that we're happy, that we're good at. And then from there, we've broken that down to trying to find one, maybe two words, such as imagination, creativity, communication. It can be two words. So for an example, I always say public speaking is a strength. I don't actually end up describing it as that. Understanding people, curiosity, problem solving. See, that's two words. It works absolutely fine. Sometimes there won't be one word. Maybe you want a small phrase or sentence, because it's really important that you actually say what the strength is personally to you. And those strengths are those based on those activities that we like. So moving on one more slide, here's a list of some strengths. So lots of you are sharing really great things. Problem solving, building relationships, curiosity, that's a really great strength. I love that. Here's a list to maybe help you out. So ones that you haven't thought of, or if you are struggling, there's a list there. Now, this isn't a definitive list. We don't have a definitive list of strengths. There are psychometrics that will tell you this is the list of strengths and it's only these, but we think it's a lot more useful to you, and you're going to get a lot more out of it if you can actually describe the strengths as you want. I'll come back to public speaking for one. So I would describe my strength around public speaking as performance, because that's the element of public speaking that I enjoy, that I feel that I'm good at, that I thrive, not necessarily just the talking part. Someone else might call it presenting. It's completely down to you. It's what you want to describe as your strength. As building relationships, maybe someone else will call it maintaining relationships. And there's some more strengths for you to look at. So hopefully there's a few there. Now, we have been looking quite a bit here at what strengths are, but let's take a step back and look at what strengths are not. Make sure we fully understand that. So strengths are the things that we're good at and that make us happy. That's basically it in a nutshell. But they're not skills. Skills are something separate. So we can all do a lot of stuff. It doesn't mean we enjoy them. So for instance, I am quite good at cleaning my bathroom at home, but that doesn't mean that that's a strength. I might even get a bit of a kick out of a job well done from doing it, but I don't choose to do it on a Tuesday night. It's not something that time flies by. It's still a chore. Knowledge, again, we all know a lot of stuff, but it doesn't mean that it's a strength. For those of you who have been through exams, or maybe have children going through them again just about now, actually, I think we're right in the season, you can really imagine learning about a subject. Maybe it was history or geography, and you learnt enough to pass the exam and get the grade that you wanted, but you might not have enjoyed it. So you're never going to call that a strength, even if you can you can do it quite well. And strengths are not things that we enjoy, but we're not good at, unfortunately. So you might do something and really love it, golf, but you're not very good at it. So it's not a strength. Not that you can have a strength in golf, but it's just one that most people seem to resonate with. But strengths are energizing. We can use them tirelessly. They give us energy. They're authentic. So they're us at our best. And it's why people like me and the rest of the learning team here at Bailey & Friends are always talking about being authentic at work. Because if you're authentic at work, what are you more likely to be? Well, you're more likely to be using your strengths. And what did we say earlier? If you're using your strengths for just 10 hours per week, then you're going to be happier. You're going to feel less pain, less sad. You're going to be more engaged, more likely to have a higher quality of life. They're enduring, so they last a lifetime. I've already touched on investment. 30 minutes with me today, 10 hours per month, 10 per week in the future using your strengths. But those strengths are going to last for your lifetime. So this is something that's going to go on and on and on. You're going to be able to benefit from it forever. Enjoyable. So they're us when we're happy and when we're joyful and when we're using our strengths. And they're easy to use. So it's us at our most natural and confident way of being. And who doesn't want to feel natural and confident in what they're doing? Right, we've spoken a lot now about personal strengths. And while there's no difference between personal strengths and your work or your business strengths, let's bring work back into it and start thinking from a work point of view. Again, we're going to go and look at activities within your work to try and scratch below the surface and find what are those motivators, what are the strengths for you, because they're all going to be different. You're all unique human beings, coming back to that. So there's not really one way of answering this, because there could be different ways that you work. But with your work hat on, try and answer one or all of these questions. Again, I'd love to see it if you'd like to share. But if you don't want to share, write it down, have a really good think about this. But when was the last time you felt your best at work? Not necessarily talking about a lunch break or leaving for the day. I mean, actually doing your work, doing a task. When do you feel best? When does time fly past? When you're in that state of flow? Or what am I known doing exceptionally well in my team or organization? Every time this sort of task comes up, people go, yeah, Sam knows how to do this. They love doing it. Let's go and ask them to do it. Or, and this is probably my favorite of the three, what's easy and natural for you that others may find difficult? So going back to my example earlier of performance or public speaking, I feel natural in front of a camera. I feel natural in front of thousands of people and confident. But for some people, that is literally a phobia. So they would never describe that as a strength. Maybe that's a slightly more extreme way of putting it, but what's good for you that others might find difficult? And let's just have a look at the chat. So facilitating collaboration, creative work. So yeah, when you're being creative and time seems to fly by and suddenly you look at the clock and hours has gone. Good eye for detail, that's really useful. Delivering workshops. That's really great. So that's something that gives you energy, that you thrive, that you look forward to. Multitasking. It's really good. It's hard for a lot of people, myself very much included within that. Anyone else like to share something? And if you aren't sharing with me, feel free to write it down on a piece of paper, or really have a good think about it. So have you all started thinking about some activities that you do at work? If you've shared one with me, working out the knotty issues. I've never used that term for knotty issues, but I'm going to now. Thank you. That's right. Retaining information. That's good. You're not a sieve like me. In one ear, out the other, unless I write it down. It's a really good strength to have. And we're already starting to talk about the strength below that. It's natural. It's easy to do. So you've all shared with me now an activity, maybe two if you want, or maybe three. Let's think about how we did the first activity. What are the themes behind that? Let's scratch below the surface and find what one word, maybe two words, can we use to describe that strength, like retaining information. And this could be exactly the same as the personal strength that we spoke about before. So there's no difference between professional and personal strength. Knowledgeable, great. What one word, maybe two words, maybe a short phrase could you use to describe a strength that you're using at work? Again, it could be the same as your personal strength. So that's that one strength that I spoke about in the beginning. If you remember, I wanted you to be able to identify a strength that you can use within a work setting for an upcoming task or maybe a challenge. And that's exactly what we're going to go on to next. So it's the so what. So you've learned about your strengths. You know that you're knowledgeable. You know that you're patient. You know that you're creative in your personal or your professional life. So what? Well, think about something that you've got coming up. That could be you need to put together a business plan. Maybe you need to do a creative piece of work, such as displaying information so others can understand it within a presentation. Not an easy task at all. Maybe you've got to present something to some internal gatekeepers who are going to decide if a project that you really want to go ahead goes ahead. Think about all those things that are coming up. Maybe it's something you're dreading. Maybe it's something that you know is coming up and it's going to be a bit of a slog. Well, let's look at it in a different way. Use that beginner's mindset and think, okay, I now know what my strengths are, what I'm good at, what makes me thrive, what makes me happy. How can I actually use that strength to maybe do that task, do that challenge, that part of my role differently and utilize my strengths? Because when you're utilizing your strengths, you're going to be more productive. You're probably going to get a better outcome, and it's going to increase your well-being as well. And you'll have all those benefits that we spoke about right at the beginning of this. So have a really good think now. You don't need to share it with me, but by all means do if you want to. This is something more for yourself. I've loved hearing about your strengths. I loved hearing about the activities, the things you do if you had a bonus day, or the things you're known for doing at work. But have a really good think about yourself now, what you're good at, what makes you happy, and how you're going to use that to make sure you smash your next challenge, your next task, something coming up. And while you have a think of that, that just leaves me to wrap up. I've only got about 3 minutes left with you today. And I will read a quote from Albert Einstein. It's a bit silly. Everybody is a genius. But if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will live its whole life believing that it is stupid. Now, why have I read that to you? Well, let's think about the meaning of it, about that fish. Its strengths are swimming, but you're not telling it to use its strengths, you're telling it to climb a tree. So it's not going to climb the tree very well, it's going to feel pretty stupid, it's not going to do the job very well. However, if you get the fish to use its strengths to swim, well, then it's in its natural environment, then it's thriving, then time is flying by and it's enjoying and the mental health is boosted. So utilize your strengths where possible, because it's going to give you a better outcome. It's going to make you feel a lot better. And if you forget everything else we've spoken about today, you'll probably remember that quote from Albert Einstein about fish not being able to climb a tree, because it's a bit silly. That's why we do it. It always sticks in the head. I love it. Right. Couple of last bits. There is so much reading on this. It's all based on positive psychology, as is most of what we do, strength-based learning. I would say it's not actually up there. The best introduction I can have if this is completely new to you is a TED Talk by Martin Seligman. That's the author of the book in the middle. It will be up on your screen now. Martin Seligman, just Google Martin Seligman TED Talk. It'll be the first hit. He's not the most charismatic, but he explains why he came to positive psychology and why he's kind of the father of the science, and why we haven't been doing this before, and it seems so silly. And then obviously you can go on to read his book if you like that, or the Go Put Your Strengths to Work is a really practical guide of actually, I know what my strengths are now, how am I going to utilize them? So you know that you're creative, you know that knowledge building, you know you're good at preserving, or you're tenacious. How are you actually going to use that? And there's a few other books around how you can use your strengths. We have Strength-Based Selling, that's a really great one. And then there's other TED Talks, Sean Inker and Shane Lopez ones are really great ones. So, what's the name of the TED Talk? That's a really good question. If you just Google Martin Seligman TED Talk, it will be the first hit, I promise. And it's all about positive psychology and how he came to it. It's one of the slightly older ones now. He's just meandering around a stage, mumbling a little bit, but what he's actually saying is really good. So hopefully you will find that, and if not, email me, or any of you if you've got questions. It's rn.richardnicholson@baileyandfrench.com, and I will certainly come back to you with any questions. I'll hang around for a couple more minutes now, just in case anyone wants to put in anything in the chat, or ask me any more questions. But otherwise, thank you very much. I've managed to actually be concise and finish on the dot. Have a lovely rest of your Tuesday. I hope it's sunny where you are. Very jealous of whoever was in Paris. It's a beautiful city that I used to go to nearly every year, but since having kids, that doesn't happen so much. Thank you so much. Join us for our other webinars. We've got one every day I'm particularly looking forward to the one on performance motivation instead of management, which we've got on Friday, which my colleague Oriana is doing. Have a lovely day. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for your kind messages and chat. Thank you. Oh, here we go. Hello, please can you share the slide again, which lists the skills on the relationship? Yes, I can do. So let's go back to. Here we go. So I think that's what you were looking for. If you'd like us to share this with you, just drop me an email, rn.richardnicholson@baileyandfrench.com. So it's just my initials, rn@baileyandfrench.com. And I will share the slides with you or share any of the bits that you would like. It's not a definitive list, and you might want to call some of these things other things, but it's a really great way of starting you off, particularly if you are new to strengths, and give you a bit of an idea. We talk about relationship building strengths quite a lot at Bailey and French on the learning side. A lot of our clients and our customers. Yeah, actually, I think I can probably share my email address in the chat. Let's see if it works, shall we? Make sure I haven't put any typos in. Hopefully you will see that all on your chat now, my email address. So it's rn@baileyandfrench.com. I'm actually due to go on paternity leave any day, so if I don't reply, email consulting@baileyandfrench.com, and then all of my colleagues will get it all at the same time. Because I could be gone at any minute. I could check my phone in any second and could be running out the door. So if I don't respond to your emails, I'm probably sleep deprived with a newborn. Is that everything? I think we've got a couple of people still on here. I'll leave this slide up for a couple of minutes. But let me know if you've got any other questions, either by email, which hopefully is up on the screen now. Thank you for your kind words. Thank you. Yes, second time round, so I know what I'm getting myself into this time, which isn't necessarily the best mindset, but I'm really looking forward to it. Thank you. I don't think anyone else is asking anything, so we'll end it now. Thank you so much for your time. I hope it was enjoyable having the camera on. A new experience for me. Definitely trying to work out where I'm looking, what I'm pressing, what I'm holding. Thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your day. I'm going to close this now. Bye-bye.